This is more or less a review, a non-professional one though, of the Schenker Media 16, the 2023 model. This is the early model, maybe they'll have a later one. And this is bought for myself, so I want to make sense of it, and maybe you would agree with my analysis. So first of all, this is compared with what I was using as my daily driver, and both of them, they have basically a 16-inch high refresh rate, 165. Today is not the highest you can buy with 240 Hz, but it's realistically a low level, low end gaming laptop, because the video card in particular is not so fast. My old Legion 5 was fully upgraded with 64 gigs in dual channel, and other parts which people would make here is that it has this AMD 5800H, which was a kind of high-end CPU from AMD 2 years ago, and the video card, it was 3050M versus 4060M. Both of them had NVMe disks. One is PCI 3 versus 4, but the disk I will not test them, but the entire applications. So, and basically one is high end of 2021, and the other one is 2023. I don't know how the future will be in 2023. So first of all, let's talk about graphics. So the graphics themselves on the old laptop were around more or less on GeForce 1060, which is a very popular gaming card still, around, or AMD 470, and GeForce 1060 was the cut down 3 gigabyte model kind of, and 4060, it's more or less, depending on how much power, it will be between 1060, 1070 and 1080, sorry. And this one, because let you afford a lot of power, you can say it's basically 1080, or if you are a AMD fan, it will be more or less on 5700 XT, and I think it's not fast enough for ray tracing. That's why I put the version with non-ray tracing. So let's see on the gaming performance, and I tested 4 games, and if you look in detail, you may see that there is an XCOM. This is an Unreal 3 game, and why I always kind of tested older games is that, first of all, you will see in future the reviews with newer games, but one part which you may notice is that, first of all, the Hero 7 game which I'm playing, and it was quite demanding, at least in some areas, it has 0 FPS on Schenker Media, and this is because it crashes, it freezes. And I don't know if it's a bug because the launcher of Ubisoft is buggy, or it's an NVIDIA driver problem, but typical users don't care. So the Hero 7 with the older video card just reaches a bit over 60 frames per second, but it's not enough for you understand, compared with the crash. Heroes 5, which is obviously an older game, and it has its own engine as far as I remember, in the same screen resolution. It runs obviously faster because it's a lighter game at around 80 frames per second, and it is running more than double, at least on this particular engine and game, than the 3050. I think this is a lucky case, but also I want to make clear that, for example, the games have a different load. So in Heroes, particularly, if you know, you are in a map area, so this is, you have a lower FPS at around, let's say, 70 in Hero 7, but when you go into the map, you have around 90, 87 frames, at least with 3050M. And instead of 100 60 FPS on the map level in Heroes 5. I had around 250 FPS inside the battle, and similarly a much higher frame rate at I think around 125 with Heroes 5. But what I also noticed that at least two games which I kind of play, so the XCOM, the first one and the second one, but the first one in particular I was testing it, it remains locked at 62 frames per second, and I can't never get over it, and I never get under it. So the video card is plenty fast, the 3050. I'm not complaining. I will not necessarily change it to 4050 today, but I want to say at least if you do an in-place upgrade that your games run fine and you don't have that heavy game that you really need a video card, you may not want to upgrade the video card in particular. But this is not true for the next part. So if you do a lot of computer operations, let's say you are doing video rendering, photoshopping, things like that, you may see this speed up. And I took two tests which kind of reflect my workflows, but you could technically replicate them. So one of them is Sunflow. Sunflow is a Java ray tracer, and why I wanted this one, it was simply that I want something that not everyone uses, first of all, and in my workflows I typically use much more Java, or there are Java tools. Many developers have this kind of Java tools, so especially in Sunflow you have a speed up a bit over 2 times faster to render the aliens scene. So you can search Sunflow Java and aliens and try to render it. I render it in 1920 by 1080 if I remember right. And similarly I took, sometimes you see very often the Chrome compilation benchmark or kernel compilation, but in reality most developers would not compile the full project forever and ever. I'm not saying they never do it, but typically do it just once, and after that you forget. So it doesn't matter so much the speed, but there are projects which they compile fast, and you could afford to do the rebuild quite often. And this one I took Lazarus. Lazarus is a Pascal IDE, and here you can see that there is a significant speed up, but it's not 2 times, even though it's still a visible speed up. So it goes from 43 seconds to kind of 32 or something like that. So given that, so especially if you do a lot of intensive work with many programs that they do some processing, and they are complex compute kernels and some a lot of disk accesses and compilation, but quite light compilations, things like that, you'll see it at least a 30% speed up, and this is quite significant, at least in some flows of life. Also, I want to make sure why would you want a laptop like this, and especially it's very good if you think it as a workstation. So if you go to a workstation, I will follow here some links. So Lenovo is very popular as workstations. You can see that kind of the cheapest workstation laptop starts kind of from 1600, but at least of the time of writing, there was, at least on this site, there is no 13th generation Intel. I think the highest is 12th generation HX, so you can get even faster, and it will be much cheaper configuration than this 3800, especially if you depend on compute. So you get with less cost and still 64 gigs of memory like I have it, so it may worth it. And if you think that I just picked on a site, you can see that recommendations for from Laptop Magazine is something like that. This is 2023 and the price is 4,600, so it's more than double than my laptop. Even we may disagree on the merits of whatever laptop I have. So for example, I have just 8 gigs of memory, but if you don't care particularly and you can attach an external screen, this is a basically 4K screen, but I have an attached external screen, you save a lot of money and you have definitely a faster processor. And this is not only on Intel, we can go to Dell. This is 1 year ago, but again the prices will be, I forgot to see, it's 2,000 starting price, but they configure it more or less to match what kind of I have, but it's with 32 gigs. I have 64, but it's at 4,000 euros. So really you save a lot, and we don't even go to Apple. So let's step back. So if you'll consider it as a workstation, I would recommend to look into the Schenker laptops because they look professional, they look clean, they don't look too flashy, though there is one thing which is flashy. It has these RGB colors, you don't look so official with it. The other interesting part, it is that you can customize it from the store. When you buy it, you can say I want 2 terabytes disk, 2 in RAID configuration, and they will configure it for you. You can say install the operating system and so on, and their markup is very small, technically speaking. I remember when I bought a 64 gigs before with DDR4, I think it was around, I may forgot the price, but let's say it was around 200 euros. Here you'll pay 250 euros for DDR5 as a markup, but it's very, I mean, as a markup it's much smaller, probably 30-50 euros at most, and this is very good, in fact. So as I said, the RGB keys look meh for a professional, and at least with my Lenovo Legion 5, I had very many problems with the webcam, and I need it for as a workstation. I had to buy an external laptop and attach it, and I think this had a problem either with quality control, because it looked like the Lenovo, they thought like you have a switch turn on turn off for it, but maybe it was just my laptop was bad. So to wrap it up, what I can say, this laptop, which I have the link in the description if you are interested, and I'm not paid or whatever with Schenker. It's my second laptop, in fact, I have with them, and I had a very good experience. It is a very good laptop, and is the best as far as I know in price. Maybe there is other one that packs something similar, but to have this mix of very high level processor, good screen with high refresh rate, and especially customizable, it's kind of nothing can beat it. It is also worth upgrading if you have you are really working a lot with quite compute, like you need to do something but you don't do it on GPU. If you need a GPU, even if you want a gaming laptop to use it as a workstation, probably this one is not ideal. Also, it's not worth for gaming. Like I don't play too much games, but if your games run fine, you may still wait. Also, because it looks like there are new games which they don't benefit, they don't get higher frame rate. Maybe it's a bug in games, maybe it's with the NVIDIA drivers. I personally didn't notice, as you could see in the measurements. So I think that's it. I'm typically not putting too many reviews, or rarely, so my page is not for this. But if it helped you to look into XMG laptops, if you like, or Schenker, take them a look. I'm a happy customer. Thank you, and see you next time. Bye bye.